Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson. I'm in the San Francisco headquarters of BALLE, Business Alliance for Local Living Economies, and I'm with Executive Director Don Shaffer. Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
So,
happy to be here.
It's really nice to be sharing it in the core place that things are happening, or at least on one level. So, what's BALLE? Besides a fun name to say.
BALLE is a network of over 12,000 entrepreneurs and business owners across the United States and Canada who are committed to creating healthy, diversified local economies. So they're all locally owned and locally operated businesses. Generally tend to be small and medium sized, and the vast majority of them are also committed to sustainable, ecologically sustainable practices and socially responsible practices in their businesses.
So I'm going to go back to the names of the businesses.
Right.
Alliance.
Yeah.
Local. So
Local.
most locally owned, locally really mindful about their local practices, which we can get into.
That's right.
Living. What's that about?
Well, living is the sustainability part. We weren't sure if sustainability or sustainable was going to be the word to describe that spirit, you know, from now till the end of time. And so we felt like living got away from the jargon, but yet encompassed what it is that we're trying to do. A living economy is one that...
because what it really has, I mean, I love that in there, because it says, first of all, in a sense, we're part of a living world, right? We're not separate from that, and economies and businesses recognize that. And living also is organic and, in that sense, sort of messy. Organic being responding to what's needed at the time, what the situation or the environment is. Yeah?
That's right. So living systems, I think, is kind of a systems thinking basis. I think David Korten came up with the term.
That's a good thought. How did BALLE get started? How old is it?
BALLE is, I guess, just about 5 years since inception, this month. And
we're at what? We're at September 06.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So fall 2001, and Judy Wicks and Lori Hamill, who are the co-founders and co-chairs of BALLE, had a conversation that they started with David Korten and Michael Schumann and other mainly members of Social Venture Network, which is another group based here in San Francisco. They got together and said there's a movement for larger businesses to reform themselves, become more sustainable, and that is happening under the rubric of Businesses for Social Responsibility, or BSR, which is a well-established group at that time. We need to have something for smaller companies, and we also want to focus on local economies and local ownership as an important cornerstone of a healthy democracy, a healthy community, et cetera.
So then what happened?
So that was the conversation, and by about a year later, the first 10 or 12 BALLE networks came online. So the structure of BALLE is that we have 36 local business networks that are part of the Business Alliance for Local Living Economies. So these local business networks there are in big cities, like the Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia, or they're in smaller towns, like the Sustainable Connections in Bellingham, Washington, or they're in rural regions, like the Rogue River Valley in Southern Oregon. And so these are collections of business owners and community leaders that are getting together to say, how can we commit ourselves to a greater degree, and how can we rally our community to build a healthy local economy here? So
does that network, it's sort of a chapter in a way.
Yes.
But they have their own autonomy to approach their own community in their own way? I mean,
that's right.
How it works?
So they're fully independent and autonomous organizations. They do their own fundraising. They have their own names. They have their own boards of directors, and are affiliated with BALLE in a sense that's not like a franchise. We don't have too many black and white rules they need to adhere to, but they need to be committed to the living economy principles that we have on our website, which anyone can go to.
Which is?
Which is livingeconomies.org.
Okay.
And then you click on About Us, and then our principles.
Oh, okay. Okay. Which are, I mean, living economies.
Yeah, the main thrust of it is that there's a commitment to producing, distributing, selling, consuming as much of our basic needs as we can from local sources, so that a community should produce and consume as much as it reasonably can from what is either grown or manufactured or what have you from within that community. And that can be in a huge city, it could be a handful of neighborhoods. In a rural area, that could be 4 or 5 counties. It really, the definition of local depends on what's appropriate
on the
for
locale.
where
I mean,
you
I
are.
can see that because I would imagine that in a city like San Francisco, a neighborhood group cooperating to produce community gardens and distribution could be one entity, whereas in a small rural county, it could be the whole county, right?
That's right.
How did you yourself get involved with BALLE?
Well, I read an article in Orion magazine in the winter of 2004. I had known about Judy Wicks of the White Dog Cafe.
We should tell people a little bit about that.
For many years.
What is she?
So she's an extremely inspiring entrepreneur who has owned a restaurant for 25 years called the White Dog Cafe in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She almost single-handedly created a local food system based on sustainable agriculture in the greater Philadelphia area. She saw a documentary at one point on factory farming of hogs, and upon seeing that, went to her chef at the restaurant and said, we're taking all meat products off the menu until we can find a locally and sustainably harvested source for meat products.
It's not doing the antibiotics and the pesticides and the
That's
cruelty.
Right, and the cruelty, exactly, the whole thing. And once she had done that, she continued on her learning curve and went right down the menu and said, we need to find local and sustainable sources for everything that we serve. So this was quite a long time ago, and it wasn't so in vogue as it is today, thankfully. So she was part of, with Alice Waters at Chez Panisse and others, moving this trend forward. And she said, well, now that I've done this for my restaurant, I can either hoard this knowledge and have this be my market niche, or I can share it with all my competitors and try and get as many restaurants as possible in the Philadelphia area to adhere to these practices or some variation thereof. So she did that. There are now several hundred restaurants in Philadelphia that are part of the network. And then she said, once she did that for her industry sector, she said, what other parts of our local economy here could we localize? So energy, capital, media, clothing, building products, et cetera. And that thus was born the Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia. So once she had done that, in fall 2001, she said, maybe we could do this in other places.
And so you read about her.
I read about her and impulsively,
happened.
Went to the annual conference a couple months later in Philadelphia. Flew cross country, went to the conference. And 2 months later, here I was national coordinator.
Ooh, that's moving fast. Well, you just skated right into this. Yeah? Now tell us, you own a business.
I do. Co-owner of a company called Comet Skateboards. We have the world's only solar-powered skateboard factory. We use only Forest Stewardship Council certified wood, water-based coatings. We manufacture all of our products here in San Francisco.
Not overseas.
Not overseas, all local. Right? So there's the transportation issue, our supply chain. We're constantly working to make it shorter and shorter in terms of supply lines. So we had made a local and sustainable commitment in 1997 when the company started, and so it was partly my interest coming from that made BALLE intriguing to me, and being able to share with other entrepreneurs and business owners all over the country about best practices, et cetera, was very appealing, and also to work with people like right here in the Bay Area in our local economy here to try and build it, more companies
the more the better.
Like ours. So, and then I'm a lifetime, in my adult lifetime reader of Wendell Berry. who also had a major influence, or still does, on how
One
I
of
think
Barry's,
about local economies.
one of our elders.
Indeed.
On this, one of our visionary elders he's spoken to a lot of us on what true economy is. I remember his book on home economics about home being the place we are rooted in, that we care for, and we want it to continue. So you're doing that.
He's a hero of mine and a lot of other people. So big motivator for this. Yeah. You
mentioned here about sustainable businesses. Earlier we had talked about the triple bottom line. So I wanted to just tell us what you mean by that and so on.
Right. So triple bottom line essentially means that you as a business owner or a stakeholder in a business, an employee or what have you, you're looking at profits,
financial profits.
Bottom line financial profits.
Right.
You're looking at the people. So there's profits, people, and planet. So the bottom line profits, you have to have those to stay in business, as we all know. In terms of people, you're actually measuring how transparent you're being with your finances. You're measuring, are you encouraging people to use public transportation? You're encouraging measurement of what kind of safety you're fostering, safety practices, a whole host of things that are in the social responsibility or how you treat your employees and other community stakeholders in terms of the people. And then the third, so first profits, second people, third planet. So planet is just widely defined as how your business, what the footprint of your business is, and how waste from your business, how much waste are you creating, what's in terms of inputs and outputs, looking at every part of your business and trying to measure. I would mention
Go ahead.
No, that's it. So the idea of the triple bottom line is you're actually measuring these things. You're not just making kind of bland pronouncements about your intention, but you're actually looking at measuring your results, and then ideally looking to improve those every year.
That's a pretty, what would I say, ambitious goal, because I realize it's always going to be moving. You could always be, the new things that show up on the horizon here. Yep. Because I would imagine on the planet side, you're thinking about the toxicity of your chemicals and the buildings that you are working in and how much heating you're. I mean, it's a huge range of things.
Yeah. So a big thing with BALLE is we're encouraging people anywhere along the path to get engaged with BALLE networks. So we're not saying there's this pristine, perfect state of being that you need to be at before you can be part of BALLE. We're saying if you have an intention to try and build a healthy local economy and your locally owned business, and you have these other goals around social responsibility or ecological sustainability, we want to, that's the whole purpose, is to help more and more businesses move along that path.
So I would imagine that part of what groups are doing are mentoring one another in a sense, or sharing their best practices. So what's happening if you're on the local level? What kind of projects and initiatives are people doing at that level?
So let's start with that one, because that is at the core of what we're doing. So there's a program we have called Circle of Entrepreneurs, where you've got say 8 or 12 entrepreneurs in a given circle get together, and each month they spend a few hours with one another. They share common business problems that they're facing. They encourage each other to adopt more and more sustainable practices, or more and more people-friendly practices, or more community-friendly practices. And it's essentially a support network that you have that allows you to be better with your business and better with how you're contributing to your community and the environment, et cetera. So that's the Circle of Entrepreneurs program that is now spreading through a lot of our networks. And there's specific structure for it and how it's facilitated, et cetera. Okay. But there are lots of different ways to do it.
And would people in one network, be from different industries, perhaps?
Yes. They could be.
Or could it all be in the same if it's a larger region?
It depends. So some networks do it cross-fertilized across industries. Others, Judy pioneered the concept of building blocks of a local economy. So they do it by food, clothing, shelter,
I see.
energy, media. So they do it within an industry. So that's one way. Another activity that local networks are involved in are straightforward networking events and speaker events that bring people together to inspire them. You know, David Corton or Michael Schumann will come to town.
They all know about it.
And everyone comes together and gets to hear them speak, and then there's a lot of Q&A and active dialogue afterwards. So there are those kinds of events. Then there's classic kind of Chamber of Commerce activity, encouraging the businesses that are part of the local network to do business with each other more, because that builds how much money is staying circulating in the local economy. So there are various ways that takes form. We have an online marketplace that encourages that.
For everybody within the whole BALLE network, all
both.
the businesses.
So within a local network, there's for instance, Sustainable Business Network of Philadelphia has its own marketplace that encourages business there, and then it rolls up to an aggregate online marketplace that we have at livingeconomies.org. So it's just in the process of getting going, but that's another activity. We do buy local first campaigns,
which is about one of the things that we learned about through one of your chapters, I guess it would be, in Ashland, a buy local campaign here this fall, fall of '06.
Right. So those are often focused on either retail businesses. So you've got a lot of smaller locally owned bookstores, hardware stores, cafes, et cetera, that are going up against bigger competitors. And so we want to encourage people that if they want to have a unique, distinctive downtown shopping district, you need to support these businesses. And food is the other area that is often included in the buy local, because intuitively, people just seem to get that it's a good idea to eat local if you can.
I mean, there's a lot of popularity going with this, you know, the local 100-mile diet or locally produced foods, and the sense that as oil prices are rising, transportation costs are higher, we're going to want more, and it will be more cost effective as well. But it's similar to your triple bottom line. It's going to be healthier for people and for our producers and for the planet to have our local food and, of course, goods as well.
That's right. So a lot of BALLE networks, food is really central to the origin of BALLE, and so we're in many communities. We're actively involved in building the popularity of farmers markets and CSAs and things that will allow small family farms to survive and
CSA
thrive.
is community supported agriculture, so that you buy a share in what the farmer's output is.
That's right.
So it's
becoming a lot more popular.
We're seeing it everywhere. It's really exciting. So any other things on the local network level? Any other kind of projects or initiatives that people are doing?
Those are some good examples. I think that green building is a really hot area right now. So you've got a lot of the networks that are doing bringing more awareness to their communities about the virtues of green building, both on the residential and commercial side. And then energy is an emerging, very hot area where everyone is looking at renewable alternative energy supplies. And the question is that going to be dominated by huge multinational corporations in the same way that the oil industry is, or are there more localized solutions that we can all work together to create? So that's a very hot area right now.
I can believe, Well, people, it's up. I mean, that's the issue. You've got to find some of those alternatives, and of course, I'm cheering for the local responses. It's also far more secure if we have our local, not just more money into our local economy. So in addition to the regional or area networks, small networks, what's happening sort of on BALLE's, national level or North American level? What do you do at the headquarters?
Well, one of the big things that we do is we have a big annual conference that we do every year, and we go back and forth between the coasts. So last year is in Burlington, Vermont, the year before in Vancouver, the year before that in Philly, the year before that in Portland. So we've got our 5th annual conference coming up at UC Berkeley this coming May 31 through June 2, '07. And part of the reason I mentioned that is it's a great opportunity to convene everyone from all over the U.S. and Canada that's involved. But also, this year we're going to be adding 2 pre-conference workshops or seminars. One is going to be on manufacturing and supply chain issues. So up to now, the focus of a lot of BALLE programs and at the local network level has been on retail businesses, food, to a certain extent, energy and building materials. And so we're looking now at how you can apply BALLE principles to manufacturing businesses more so. So some of the supply chain issues, shortening supply lines so there's less transportation, looking at creating regional brands. So is it possible for a skateboard company or a yogurt company to build a business just selling to a certain region as opposed to feeling like they have to distribute everywhere? So there are lots of interesting issues involved with that. So we're going to have a whole day devoted to that. We also are pioneering a new approach to economic development here in California right now out of this office, where we're working with city and county governments to see how they can do economic development using local living economy principles. So up to now, local governments traditionally have given big tax breaks and subsidies to large outside corporations to lure them to come to town to provide jobs, tax base, et cetera, with mixed results, as someone like Michael Schuman has a lot more informed position on that, but mixed at best. So our argument is take some of those resources and do a better job at incubating local entrepreneurs and building a base of small and medium-sized locally owned businesses that are going to take advantage of some of these trends in sustainable agriculture and renewable energy and green building and zero waste manufacturing. And so we've done a pilot project in San Benito County, about 90 miles south of San Francisco, over the last 15 months. That's gone really well. We're having a conference there on October 19th to showcase some of the work that we've done down there. And now at the state level in Sacramento, they would like to see us do this kind of economic development consulting work in 4 other counties.
Excellent.
And if that goes well, then we're looking to roll it out statewide, and we'd like for other already Washington State and Pennsylvania and North Carolina and Iowa and some other states are interested in what we're doing and how they can apply it there.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
That is really, I mean, I imagine
it's got a lot of potential.
It's happening. I mean, what I hear is some wisdom about putting the energy back into our communities with organizations and businesses who are rooted there.
That's right.
Right? That's
the whole idea.
So, so that our money isn't just going out, out to the rest of the world only.
And we part of our position is that businesses that are locally owned and operated, by definition, are able to be more rooted in the community. It's not to say we're not trying to demonize big companies or say any person or what have you is bad in those. That's not the point. But the point is that if you want to have a healthy community, we feel like there's just higher quality interaction and whatnot that you can have with a diversified base of locally owned businesses. So at least it's an important part.
In our last 3 minutes, any other things that you're doing or dreaming? What's up? What's the vision? Planning?
Right. So our dream is that we see, our vision is that we see this is Judy's words, a sustainable global economy as a network of local living economies. So whereas now we have 36 local business networks, we envision hundreds and thousands. And we have our first couple of chambers of commerce that are now members of BALLE. So we're kind of crossing that divide to conventional business organizations. So that's our mission is to catalyze, strengthen, and connect local business networks that are committed to these principles. And so we hope that there are going to be many, many, many more in years to come.
The businesses, I want to add, that who can join? Who can join BALLE?
Well, the main criteria that we have on the flip side is that we do not encourage publicly traded companies to join BALLE, because then the ownership is disseminated widely, and obviously not locally. So that's the biggest criteria. Other than that, businesses are locally owned, and that that fundamentally not only agree but are enthusiastic about pursuing the local living economy principles that we have. And beyond that, it really depends on the network exactly how they define membership at the local level. So a chamber of commerce in San Bernardino County may be more focused on local, whereas the Green Enterprise Alliance in Toronto is very much focused on sustainable businesses. So it really
they have their different flavors.
There are different
local
different
flavors
types
to this. So
yeah, and we want to function as a clearinghouse of resources to all of them that are trying to make progress.
It would seem to me that the delight of this is it can be endless. You know, and stronger and.
Yeah, we want it to be rigorous, but we don't want to bind people, and you need to meet communities where they are.
Sounds
in
like
their evolution.
Your own model here is that BALLE is also living and breathing to be responsive to what's here locally.
That's accurate. That's what we're trying to do. It's not always easy, but that's the idea.
Life isn't always easy, right? And you're creating an organism here. So I wish you well. I think this is a wonderful enterprise and timely for us, well, actually, probably for the whole world, to reinvigorate our local economies, local people, our local services. It's a good time. Thank you for this.
Thanks.
You're watching Peak Moment, Community Responses for a Changing Energy Future. I'm Janaea Donaldson. Join us next time.